April 11th, 2025 is the date. Welcome back again, everyone, to another episode of the Figure Four Podcast. My name is Doug. It's been a little while. Had a few episodes, had some technical difficulties. They never made air, but we are back. This episode, Donald and I are doing episode 4 of the Monday Night Wars, all about D-Generation X and how they helped the Attitude Era. Hope you guys enjoy. Let's get to the show. So I don't remember where episode 3 ended. It was a while ago. We did episodes 1, 2, and 3, but here's episode 4 of the Monday Night Wars, and it's all about DX. So at this point, when just before DX gets together, Vince is losing the ratings huge to WCW. Late 1996, WCW is just killing the WWF. NWO was huge. They were super cool. Everyone wanted to be the NWO, including us. WCW was taking their talent. Hall was gone. Nash was gone. Hogan was gone. Savage was gone. It was different. WCW was different than the traditional wrestling. And WWF, we've talked about this before. WWF was still using hockey players. They were still using plumbers. They were still using farmers. They were still using carpenters, baseball players, clowns. People were sick of it. When this was going on, now the NWO is, like Hogan is gone, Hall is gone, Nash is gone. You were still watching wrestling at this point. So Undertaker in WWF isn't the star that he would become. He's a big name, but he's not the star he would become. Bret Hart is probably the biggest player. Shawn Michaels is on the rise. Did you find yourself watching more WCW, or were you still flipping back and forth pretty equally through Raw and Nitro, or was it, I'll watch until the next commercial, and then when the commercial comes on, I'll go see what's going on in WWF?
Probably. I want to say. I mean, I've always been a big WWE fan. Like, to me, I mean, that's what we grew up on. You dabbled a little bit in the NWA when WCW became a big thing, or when they started to like get on the rise. Like, you were kind of. I found that you were kind of in between. So like, we would watch WCW Saturday night. And, I kind of gravitated towards staying, but in my heart, I was still pro WWE, WWF. So around the time of the Monday Night Wars, like you said, Hogan's gone, Savage is gone, they all jumped ship, NWO was starting to get on the rise and stuff like that. I would, of course, now this would be when Dad wasn't home, because Dad was a huge WCW fan. He liked Goldberg, and it was all about that. But when Dad wasn't home, I would change like in between commercials. Like, I would flip back and forth.
Now at this point, we better throw in too, because it is a DX show. At this point, like I said, everyone's gone. Out of the clique, it's only Shawn and Hunter left.
Yeah,
out of the clique.
Yeah, Kev is gone.
Even 1-2-3 Kid is gone. Sean Waltman is gone.
Yeah, X-Pac is gone. Hall is gone. So they're doing their thing at WCW. Now keep in mind, Stone Cold is on the rise, and Austin is my guy at the time. Probably hence why I'm bald to this day. But yeah, like I'm flipping over in between commercials and stuff like that. You could still tell WWE they were trying, but like you said, like they were tailoring their action towards a certain demographic, which would be like 14 to 20.
I would say it would even be a little bit more than that. Maybe. Yeah. I would say between 10 and 20, where WCW, I think you were going to say theirs was like 18 to 40.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yep. They were like, let's not do what our competition is doing. Let's get more real. Let's not go with the cheesy gimmicks. Let's go with, what the NWO ended up becoming. You know,
Yeah.
let's go with the invaders. Let's go with that storyline. Let's let's break down the barriers that were set up before from, you know, from the WWF. And I mean, Jesus, it ended up working. What's Eric Bischoff's podcast called? 83, 86 weeks?
83 weeks. Yeah.
83 weeks. They ruled the ratings for 83 weeks straight,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
it worked.
and it'll never happen again, obviously, but it, it was something, that's impressive. Like when you think about the WWF was the marker for professional wrestling from probably 1986, 1985 until Nitro started. Maybe
Yeah.
just after Nitro started. So to be on top for 10 or 12 years and then to be not, and it actually was a really like once Hogan left, I mean, it definitely helped WCW. It didn't really affect WWF much anyway at all. Because people in WWF and even eventually in WCW were sick of Hogan. It was big for WCW because they never had that. I mean, they had Flair and they had Sting, but come 1994, 1995, no one really gave a crap. So, but then getting Hogan definitely put them on the map. And then when Hall and Nash came over, forget about it. But yeah, to rule for 83 weeks, it'll never happen again just because there's no competition out there. And they always say never, but AEW is awful. They'll never compete with the WWF. I always gave them a chance.
Oh my God.
And at one point, their product was really good. I loved AEW, but I haven't watched it in, oh my God, probably since CM Punk was there. I think you were watching the pay-per-view as well.
Yep.
Against Samoa Joe, that one in Wembley Stadium. That's probably the last time I watched AEW, maybe a couple of shows after that were just on television, but the product is awful. They'll never be another Monday Night Wars. So at this point, yeah, like we said, Sean and Hunter are the only ones left out of the clique. They knew that wrestling had to change and they were trying to come up with ideas, but McMahon, being the traditionalist that he was, didn't really want to change much. So at this point, I think some of Sean's demons were just starting to poke their head a little bit. I mean, he was every wrestler, and I'm not picking on Shawn Michaels, every wrestler from the time immemorial has used alcohol and drugs. This is no secret, but, Sean, walking around, good looking guy, has charisma out his asshole, can get any girl that he wants. You know, you throw a little bit of whatever the devil's dandruff is, whether it be a pill or a drink or whatever, is helping bring that attitude out a little more. And I think arguably Sean was cocky enough, straight, but maybe these little demons that were starting to poke out had a lot to do with maybe the Attitude Era and DX coming out more than, say, if he was straight all the time. So they go out and they always told people, well, now, and like in interviews, they just wanted to have fun. They just wanted to be themselves. They just wanted to be, they were assholes. They bugged Vince all the time. Come on, let us go out and do this. Let us go do that. Let us go do this. Let us go do that, until Vince was like, oh, God damn it. Just go do it then. So they go out and they start literally acting like 15-year-old jackasses.
Yep.
They start doing their thing. Vince. Now, I vaguely remember when Hunter and Sean were thrown together. I think Hunter was still, even with, it took a while to get out of it, but he was still wearing the Hunter Hearst Helmsley getup whenever they were first thrown together. And I think it didn't take awful long, but it took a little bit long for him to like get rid of that. And then he'd wear a pair of khakis and like a dress shirt. Yep. But it took a while for Triple H to leave that Hunter Hearst Helmsley character outside and get more into this, what Sean was wearing a pair of shorts or just a pair of jeans and a t-shirt and braid his hair up. It's funny to look where Triple H is now. And I always thought in DX, when Shawn was running it, all he did was carry Shawn's bags. He was just Shawn's tag-along guy. That's how I always looked at Triple H. I didn't like him. I thought he wasn't very good, to be honest with you.
I mean, he's got. I mean, we can look at how Triple H is today, and if
that goddamn well didn't happen overnight.
No, I mean, you take DX Triple H and compare him, like stand him beside today's Triple H. There's no goddamn way that guy is going to be the
nowadays
COO.
Triple H would have kicked the shit out of that other dweeb. Triple H today would have kicked the shit out of Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Absolutely. In his post wrestling days, has he saved the WWE? In terms of storytelling, absolutely.
I'll say yes, absolutely.
Looking back on that Triple H in DX, I mean, Shawn was on a different level, man. Like Shawn was like,
he always was.
He was up there. And
I loved Shawn Michaels when he was still with the Rockers. I thought he was the better performer out of the Rockers. Yeah.
You always said that. And I'll go back to those days and say when he was with Jannetty, you always said one day he's going to be a singles champion.
Yeah.
And you were 100% right. But yeah, I mean, looking back at that stage of DX, like you had the Road Dogg, you had Billy Gunn, China had just come into the mix, I think, around that same time. But Shawn was DX.
Yes. Because it took so long for Triple H to, I don't want to say get on board, but he was so refined. It was like he was trying to act like Shawn Michaels, but he looked like a tool doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I mean, and like you talk about Shawn and his demons just like starting to creep up and stuff like that. I mean, he openly has said this, that it was around that time that like he was getting into pills and the drinking, and like he openly said that he started reading a bedtime story to his kid, and he ends up passing out.
Yeah. And
his kid crawling all over him like, "Mommy, why isn't Dad waking up?"
That was years later. Like at this point, like he still admitted like he was still using drugs. I don't know how big a factor alcohol was, but I mean, the pills I'm sure are bad enough, but for us watching, it didn't affect his promos. It didn't affect his wrestling ability. I doubt very highly, being the performer that he was and just always wanted to be the best match on the show every night, I would bet my house he never went to the ring inebriated.
Oh, probably not. Given his style, probably not.
But probably nights that he knew he was just going to have to talk a little bit. It wouldn't surprise me if a pill or two went down to, number one, help with pain, and number two, loosen him up. Yep. That's normally how addiction starts, is it starts with pain. And then you want to stop and you can't stop.
Yeah.
So after a little while, China comes in. And at this point, she's actually dating Triple H. And then, and what was awesome about China was we hadn't seen, like as wrestling fans, we had never seen anything like China. And what a debut she had. Like, I'll never forget, it had something to do with Goldust because Marlena was at ringside. And Marlena was like 5 feet tall, 4'11"
at best.
She was maybe 110 pounds, and 40 pounds of those were tits. And China picked her up and just ragdolled her. Like, I thought she was going to have a broken neck by the time China was done. And of course, you got JR over there screaming into orgasm. My God, look at this woman. She's an Amazon. But poor Marlena, Jesus Christ. And then after she comes in, shortly after, Rick Rude comes in. Now, I think the only reason Rick Rude came in was because I don't think he could wrestle. He wasn't wrestling at this point. And
No.
I don't remember if he had a contract or if it was a handshake night to night.
He had some kind of a deal because he came back over from WCW. He had went to WCW and came back. Now, I'll have to go back and do my history lesson on this, but I think he had a deal in place with them. It was some kind of a settlement that he would never wrestle again because of some
Well, he had hurt his
medical.
back in WCW against Sting. That's pretty much
Yeah,
what ended his wrestling career.
he was still under contract.
But when
And so,
what I mean was when he came back and was with DX, I don't know what kind of a deal WWE had for him. If he had like a written contract or if it was a handshake night to night,
right,
or it was X amount of days and that's your contract. You're going to get paid this. You're just going to hang out with Triple H, China, and Shawn Michaels.
right.
Obviously no wrestling. Obviously no wrestling. But I still, Rick Rude coming in always confused me because even when he wrestled, he was a no nonsense wrestler. Absolutely
Yep.
no nonsense throughout his whole career. Tough guy attitude, which he was a legit fucking tough guy.
Yep.
And then you got China. Now China's probably almost as big as Rick Rude at this point. So
Yep. Yep.
I don't understand what the purpose of Rick Rude joining DX would be. I never really understood that because he didn't do anything. He just walked around with a briefcase. If there was any run-ins, China did 99% of it.
Yep.
I don't remember Rick Rude getting super physical with DX, but whatever. I mean, everyone, it's a faction. So the more bodies, the better. I just never understood the whole Rick being in DX. So when he comes, shortly after when he comes in, the whole WWF is starting to get a little edgier. They didn't care, and by their own admission, they didn't care about the boys or the WWF at the time. They cared about getting ratings, having fun, and that's it. They didn't give a shit. They legit did not care about authority. And we'll get to this shortly about catchphrase. Remember I said I was talking about asshole kids. That's what the wrestling world was turning to. People were tired, like we said, about saying your prayers and eating your vitamins. The good guys kissing babies and winking at little girls. And, you know, the wrestling world was tired of that. And DX was the start of this changing, I think. So eventually, we'll get to this, Suck It comes out. Did you hear the story of how they actually started saying "suck it" on national television? Triple H actually told this story.
I'd love to hear this.
Okay, so they're just starting DX. They're having fun. Like I said, they're acting like 15-year-old assholes. Creative will come up to them, or Vince will come up to them. Or Bruce Pritchard would go up to them and say, we're not doing that. Suck it. That's how it started. They would legitimately tell the brass in the back to suck it. But they never said it on. They were saying that backstage weeks before they actually started saying it. Well, about a week before they actually started saying it on TV, which I think is pretty goddamn funny. You're looking at like the greatest minds in professional wrestling. They have an idea for you and you're telling them to suck it. Politely fuck off. So the stuff that they were doing at time wasn't done, and a lot done before on TV. I shouldn't say the stuff they were doing. They weren't really doing much. It was the way they were acting and the way they were talking. A lot of the traditional wrestlers, just wrestlers, didn't like what they were doing. They thought it was insulting to the business. Now, you as a fan, how old would you have been back when DX came around? Probably 16?
That's what, around 96, 97?
Ish, yeah.
Yeah, I'm around maybe 17, maybe 18.
Okay. So, what would you like to watch? Traditional wrestling or two idiots running around telling people to suck it and doing crotch shots and, just giving promos that no one ever heard about? No one ever heard. The way they spoke on television, we never heard anything like that on wrestling before.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, it was becoming edgy.
Yes.
And like the mid to late 90s, man, that's what everyone looked for. And so as with everything, you change with the times. And anyone who was watching wrestling at the time, you probably grew up during that era of say your prayers, eat your vitamins, like you said.
Yeah.
Like always do the good thing and all this kind of stuff. Then all of a sudden you got these guys that are getting up doing crotch shots and going against the establishment.
Having barbecues in the ring, wearing aprons that say "suck the cook."
Myself, and I mean, like I said, I grew up. I mean, the later stages of my adolescence, I was a huge Austin fan. Go around, flip the bird. Austin 316 says, "I just whipped your ass." That's like that's what I gravitated to. And so when I see DX, basically flipping off the establishment and saying we're going to do whatever we want, you can't stop us.
And not get mad at you, not yell like Austin or flip the bird, laugh at you and crotch shot you like you're a joke. I don't have to fucking listen to you.
Like, I remember walking down the hallway at school and like there'd be a select handful of friends that I had that were wrestling fans. And like, we would literally salute each other and do the crotch chop.
Yep.
And it was just accepted.
Do you remember my buddy Matt LaRue? I worked at the IGA with. That's how we saw each other. Like, I was in produce, he was in the meat department. He'd walk in and look around, make sure no one was looking, and give a big suck it chop. It was fucking great.
At that time, though, I got to say, which would I rather watch? Not the good guy versus bad guy. I'm looking for what's going to piss off the establishment.
Yeah.
Like that's what I wanted to watch at that time.
And that's what the whole wrestling world was turning into.
Yeah.
So it was actually Brett that started the whole DX name. Well, the degeneration name. When he looked at Shawn Michaels on the big Titantron and they're in the back and
you guys are a bunch of degenerates.
You guys are nothing but a bunch of degenerates. And then Shawn was like, blah, 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 blah. And of course, Triple H is doing his best to try to be as cool as Shawn, and it's just not there yet, but
it was forced.
That
was so forced.
I mean, do you think you're a degenerate? Well, I mean, I'm positive I'm one. I guess I have to be then. Like, that's the best you can do, Hunter. Like, but anyway, he's running WWE and we're doing podcasts right now, so it doesn't matter.
Right. What's scary is that at the time they're like, DX is going to take over the WWE. And they have.
And they did, literally. They took over everything. Okay, so fans are eating up the DX shit. They're not just heels. They're supposed to be heels. They're supposed to be the bad guy. But the fans fucking love them.
Think about this, okay? Just for a second. I don't want to interrupt
you. No,
but...
for sure. Shoot.
So, late 90s, you've got the NWO going against the grain over in WCW. In WWE, you've got DX that is basically going against the system.
Yeah.
As a fan, and to me, this is what brought them to get such a gathering, such a backing from the fan standpoint of view. How many people would love to tell their boss, suck it?
Yeah.
Go like the average fan that's paying, X amount of dollars for a ticket. Like, you can live vicariously through this faction. And, you see them tell McMahon and all of his cronies at the time, Briscoe and, Sergeant Slaughter and all those guys, we're going to do what we want. There's nothing that you can do against it. We're making you money. People love us. So, yeah, you can suck it.
Like, literally and figuratively, like it wasn't a show. They actually meant it. But everyone back then would love to say that and not get fired. Fuck yeah.
Right?
So Bischoff, and to this day, he calls, and I want your opinion on this. He says that, like, this was the first big move, like with the WWF starting to get a little edgier because he had to do something because what he was doing wasn't working.
Yeah.
He says, and still to this day, that he feels that Degeneration X was a cheap ripoff of the New World Order. Now, I disagree with that, and I'll tell you why. The NWO went out every night. Now, they were just cool as shit anyway. They were in black and white. They had pretty cool music. They had a big entourage, all that shit. But the NWO went out and killed everyone every single night. The NWO didn't job for anyone. They beat someone up and spray painted them every single night. DX went out to that ring most times, shot their mouth off. When they had a match, they got the shit kicked out of them. And as they're going back to the locker room, they're still telling you to suck it. After they got the shit kicked out of them. There was nothing tough about DX. They went out and won a match with some outside help, but that was it. As soon as the match was out, they hid their tail and fucking ran. So that's why I think, I don't think they were a cheap ripoff. I think they were completely different than the New World Order. That's my opinion.
I wouldn't say that they were a cheap ripoff. DX is basically what I would relate to a modern day Judgment Day.
Somewhat, yeah.
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Because like I said, NWO spray painted people and beat them up. DX mooned you. And that's what I could see. That's what I could see the Judgment Day doing, is mooning someone that they don't like. You know, like I wish Liv would do it, but
I mean, like you said, like the NWO, like they talk shit, but they backed it up week after week. And they had guys that could back it up. Like they had Big Papa Pump, they had Kevin Nash, they had, I mean, before everything got watered down.
Yeah.
You know, when you had the red and black and with the white and black, we'll save that for another time. But when you look at DX, they were basically making fun of the establishment.
Yes.
I mean, case in point, Hunter and Sean, they come out to the ring to talk to Sergeant Slaughter, and they're like, hang on a second. And then they turn around, they put on fucking helmets with spit guards on the front, and they had little windshield wipers going when Sergeant Slaughter was talking. You're making fun of the establishment. That's what DX was all about.
Yes.
They weren't all about going
They weren't trying to take over.
No.
They were just assholes causing trouble.
Exactly. They you want to high five them in the face with a chair.
Yes.
That's what you wanted to do to DX, and that's what they were pushing for. They weren't a ripoff of the NWO. They were two totally different factions, entities.
So after a time, out of nowhere on that historic night, Ravishing Rick Rude appears on Monday Night Raw and Monday Nitro at the exact same time. I think, and no one knew he was gone. That's why I was wondering about whenever he came back from WCW and was hanging around with DX, what kind of contract he had, because, like, was it a handshake? Was it an actual contract? Because instantly he was gone. He's on Nitro. And of course, Bischoff is loving this because this is what you get when you have a live show and not a show that's taped 6 weeks ago and blah, 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 all this stuff. I'll say this again, and I don't want to disrespect Rick Rude because he was a hell of a performer, hell of a wrestler, hell of a talent. Rude was kind of a tag along. He didn't do anything for DX. I just don't think he did. And I think, I mean, obviously when something like that happens, when you have a talent that was working a house show a night or two before, and now all of a sudden they're on Nitro and no one knew, which it's not the first time it happened, but it was one of the first times that it had happened. I don't think, I'm sure they thought it was a big deal at first, but I mean, after he left, they even brought Harvey Whippleman out dressed in a suit with a briefcase trying to pretend like he was Rick Rude. They were mocking it. But I think that fans of DX didn't really care if Rick Rude was there or not. Like I said, to me, and I don't want to disrespect him, but he was a tag along. Same as he was in the NWO. He was just kind of there.
Yeah, I didn't really understand. I mean, whatever, like you said, whatever the contract was, we don't know. Um, but I thought I saw something that his contract had lapsed, and WWE wasn't even aware of it. Vince wasn't even aware of it, that his contract had run out. And kind of like the Luger deal, Bischoff was like, "Oh, you're not under contract anymore? Come on back over."
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'll have to go back and do my homework on that. But I'm positive that's what ended up happening. But yeah, like after Rude's wrestling days, he kind of seemed a little bit irrelevant, which is, I mean, it's very strange because as a talent, one of the best workers in the business,
Hands down. Hands
oh
down.
my God, I mean, given his work, and I'll just say Ultimate Warrior, and now Rude had some great matches with Jake too.
Yeah, Warrior was his greatest challenge, though. That was Rude's greatest challenge because he made Warrior look like Warrior was an okay wrestler.
Absolutely, that's exactly where I was going. Rude was a great worker. He was great on the mic. He could razz the fans. Him on the mic, you paid attention, and like, and that was that was in his performing days, like as a talent. In both DX and when he went to the NWO, it's just like what purpose do you serve? I don't understand. You're not an enforcer. You're basically taking up a roster spot. That's what I got.
Yeah. So they're starting to get edgier, ballsier. They're going out that Raw on Christmas, and they were wishing everyone a Merry Christmas, and they ripped off their Santa pants, just wearing their thongs with Merry Christmas written on their ass cheeks. And Vince is getting pissed off, and he's pulling his hair out, but the ratings are slowly coming back up. The arenas are starting to sell out, so he's not embracing it, but he's not saying no as much anymore. And then comes the big letter from USA Network. They're not very happy. So they send the letter out, and then DX gets on TV and does that promo they did with the actual letter, which I thought was fucking hilarious. Cursing, swearing. I mean, it's all bleeped out anyway, but my 11-year-old daughter knows exactly what they're saying, even with the bleeps.
Yeah. Have you seen the uncensored version?
Oh yeah. I used to have
behind the scenes.
I might still have the VHS tape of Degeneration X whenever that came out, like 1998 or 1999 or something. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I still have the VHS tape. That was the greatest thing ever. Like for us, that was fucking awesome. And they did it so well. Like, fuck me. God damn it. Fuck. And Triple H, like I've all been using these words, like the slurs, like faggot, blah, 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 like, and it's just like they're talking, especially Triple H. It's like he's talking about the weather. This is just natural for me, which is when I think he started coming out of his shell, was around this time, actually. So they want to keep taking it further. They don't want filters. They want skits about boobs and dicks. And Vince knew, like I said, he wasn't embracing it, but when the money is coming in, and especially after that skit they did with that letter, and the USA Network actually thought it was pretty funny. So they gave Vince a little bit more slack on the rope. All right, go further. Don't jump off the fucking edge, but you can walk up to it for now.
Yep.
And Vince knows he's got to keep changing. He knows because he started the money. Like I said, the money's coming up, the ratings are coming up, and this is what he's got to do to try to catch Ted Turner. Then here come the New Age Outlaws. They join DX eventually, but before that, they're playing with them. I used to love Road Dogg. Billy was Billy. He was just with Road Dogg, the New Age Outlaws. But I loved Billy Gunn. Jesus, what was his name? Not Billy Gunn. James, the Road Dogg. I loved him because he would come out wearing that Cartman shirt. And and I loved Eric Cartman. I still love Eric Cartman.
You guys, seriously.
But he would come on, he would do that stupid little dance wearing that. I thought Road Dogg was awesome. But before they joined DX, Mike Tyson joins DX. So at this point, Shawn is WWF champion. But he fit right in with DX because he was a rebel himself. I didn't like his crotch chop because it was too forced.
Yeah.
Like he didn't actually do like the chop. He just kind of put his hands up like an X and walked around and bounced and like, here, I'm showing you an X. I'm a DX, you know, I think that he actually called himself a DX one time. I'm a DX, you know, like, what did you think of Tyson when he first came in? When they started setting all this up with Austin and Michaels and him being a guest referee, and then it looks like he's going with DX. What did you think of it?
I mean, it was a gimmick. I think I kind of felt like it was a little bit forced. Like you said, like, you know, Tyson was almost trying a little too hard. And I mean, it kind of looked like someone with, it was forced. It seemed a little forced. Going into that WrestleMania, that was in Boston, I think it was.
I believe, I don't remember.
The Fleet Center, I'm pretty sure. Austin is over at that point. And he was huge over. Looking at that WrestleMania, I kind of had a feeling that Tyson was going to go against DX, but at the same time, I'm like, Shawn versus Austin. If Austin doesn't go over at this point, he's never going to go over.
That's right. Yeah.
Shawn was at peak Shawn Michaels at that time, like for DX.
Oh, absolutely. It was. Yeah. And the thing about that, at that point, the drugs and alcohol had really gotten a hold of him at this point, and his back was just gone. Hurt himself.
His back was so jacked up.
It was gone. That match with Undertaker did it in for him when he got backdropped over that top rope and hit the corner.
Oh my God.
On that casket. And I've gone back. I have watched that. I don't know how many times, and it didn't look that bad to me, but it's easy for me to say, well, I'm drinking a beer and watching some other dude propel himself over a top rope, trying to clear a 5 foot wide or 6 foot wide wooden casket and catch the corner of it on the way down while you're trying to protect your body. Easy for me to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, his back was jacked up and you could see the pain he was in that match. Like, I don't know how many pills he had to take to get through that match.
Oh,
but you could just see the pain on his face. And
there's a moment during that WrestleMania match between Austin and Michaels he's trying to climb the turnbuckle.
Yeah.
To go to the top rope.
Yep.
And he's cursing, he's spitting. He's fucking spitting.
Yeah.
And cuz he knows, like, God damn it, I'm going to get to the top of this turnbuckle, but holy shit, this fucking hurts.
Oh, and when he landed, it was like his soul left his body.
Oh, like I remember watching that match and then going back and rewatching it years later. And I'm like, like kind of trying to point out like, holy crap, like this is where he fucked his back. And this is where he really fucked his back.
Yeah.
And like you like I'm watching this and I'm just like, how in blue hell was he able to get through that match? And it's not like like him and Austin, they had a full, like if you want to talk about a full length match, they had a full length match.
They did.
He could have easily told Austin, my back is fucked, let's go home.
Well, they were worried about he just wasn't going to do the job at all. Period. Yeah. But he has talked about this match. It's an iconic match. It's one of the most iconic matches because it started the Austin era. Him winning that title started the Austin era. But if you ask him to rank his best WrestleMania match and his worst, he calls this his worst match at WrestleMania.
Yep.
Just because of the pain he was in. He couldn't, I mean, I thought the match was really damn good. Was it typical Shawn Michaels? A little something missing. You can, going back, something missing for a Shawn Michaels match. But when your back is that jacked up and screwed up and, you know, I thought it was a damn good match for what it was.
Yep.
I mean, he went out, he put his body on the line for Austin. I still haven't got the whole story about what happened after that. They're doing the post-match interviews. Austin's got the belt. Tyson was with him. I've seen clips. Shawn Michaels tried to get in there. Him and Hunter, I believe. I don't remember if China was there or not. And Shane McMahon stopped him at the door, I think it was. And you could see it was just sarcasm. Shane convinced him to just go back to the locker room or something. He pats Shane on the shoulders like, all right, big time or whatever, kicks the door open and leaves. And you could see everyone looking. I still love to know what he was trying to do or what he wanted to say at that press conference. Because it seemed like he was pissed off. Now, again, he wasn't in the right head space either. But I'd love to know what he wanted to say at that press conference.
I'd be curious, man, because I mean, like this, like you're talking post-match, you're talking showers, everyone's done. Austin and Tyson, they're up on the podium, they're doing their thing, and Shawn comes in. He tries to enter the scrum, and like you said, Shane like stops him, and whatever was said between the two. What happened between the match and whatever took place after the match, whatever he may have, I mean, maybe Shawn popped a couple of pills, whatever, you know, to try and ease up some of that pain in the back. Maybe he wasn't making any sense. I have no idea. I've never heard or seen of anything that took place post-match. All we can do is speculate. We're never going to find out exactly whatever happened. Unless it ever comes from the mouth of Shawn.
Yeah. True enough.
You know,
but
yeah, no, I'd be curious.
So that's his last match. He's gone for years after WrestleMania. Now DX is Hunter in China. So the next night on Raw, Triple H has got to go out and try to keep this DX thing going. And out of his own mouth, he's got one shot at this, and that is it. To try to keep DX going. He's got to sell it. And boy, oh boy, and he did. He did a fantastic job. He did a fantastic job of starting that new DX. He gets in the ring, cuts a promo. Shawn is gone. First guy he brings out is Sean Waltman. Waltman shows up after leaving WCW. They give Waltman a live mic and talk whatever you want about. We don't care. You can talk about WCW. You can talk about Eric Bischoff. You can talk about whatever you want. Waltman goes out, X-Pac, whatever the fuck you want to call him. And he did a great job on a promo too. The two of them did fantastic. And it wasn't, I think that night was the start, not just of Triple H, like running DX and making DX his, not Shawn Michaels DX. It was going to be different. This was the start of not DX Triple H. This was the start of the game. It's like he a different switch went on after that night. When he gave that promo and he brought X-Pac out, there was something different about Triple H after that.
I think he probably realized that if you look at the faction, who else is going to step up? It's not going to be Sean Walton.
Well, what could he do, really? I mean, he was running around with Shawn Michaels doing his part or whatever, but everything was on Shawn because Shawn was the face of the company. And now it's okay. I'll try to do something, sir. You know, like this is his career. It's not just the future of DX. This is his career on the line because he's been known for being a jerk off, running around with Shawn Michaels. If this doesn't work, okay, I guess I'm back to jerking the curtain. I'll be the first match on the card, or possibly just let go.
Yep. 100%. I think, this was, I think with him becoming the air quote leader of DX, like this was his take the ball and run with it. If you fumble, then we're done. And when you look back on Triple H's DX, I think, they almost had to kind of like reinvent themselves. They still did like they still played like the Joker role. Like they would still go out and make fools of everybody and themselves.
Yeah.
But this was Triple H's way of like, fuck this. I'm going to take this ball and run with it. I'm going to come out in front. And everyone else can kind of follow me. And like you said, this was his way. This was the beginning of the game.
Yeah. And it had to be, because I think he was smart enough even back then to know, you know what? I can't make a career of leading a bunch of degenerates.
Hooligans.
Eventually I got to break out on my own here.
Yeah.
You know, so not only is he trying to do the whole DX thing and be the leader, he's got to work on being Triple H too. That character is going to have to evolve sooner or later. And he was smart enough to know that.
And I think creative knew that too.
Yeah. It was, the funniest thing is Vince McMahon never thought Triple H was going to be a main event guy. He was going to be a mid-carder at best. The only guy that ever completely supported Triple H was Vince Russo. Russo was the only guy that was the biggest. Vince Russo was the biggest Triple H supporter in the company, even going back to Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Holy shit. I didn't know.
Yep. McMahon said he'll never be a main eventer. He'll be a mid-carder at best. He'll be Intercontinental champion. That's going to be his plateau.
He'll never be my son-in-law. God damn it.
God damn it. That guy's got to have a bazooka on him. I can't have that. God damn it. So the New Age Outlaws, Triple H finally brings in the New Age Outlaws with X-Pac and China. New DX is born. And then they do the whole firing a shot at WCW, because wherever they went, WCW always tried to find their schedule where they were going to have Monday Night Raw. They would try to book a Nitro in the same town or within a few miles or something. So they went down that one night north of Scope Arena, and, you know, like they did the whole army thing, which was friggin' hilarious. Very well done. It was different because now you're really seeing the two different companies competing against each other, where it used to be taboo to even mention your competition. Yep. You never heard the WWF talk about the National Wrestling Alliance, you know? So after that was done, Bischoff calls out Vince and says, "Come on down, Vinny, you and me, McMahon, let's go." Now, why McMahon didn't go down, I'll never know. The story behind that whole DX invasion thing was when they closed the door, when it was open, Eric Bischoff says he was doing something. He had no idea that they were even outside. Bischoff says if he had known he would have told them to come in. He said it would have been a great time for television. To get your competition on your television. WWF wouldn't show it. Nitro would show it. Turner would show it, which means ratings for them. So Bischoff was going to let him come on in. On the other side of that door when it closed was Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash was trying to tell the security guy to open the door to let them in. Yes. But now DX was told, now I can't remember who gave the interview. I believe it, Bruce Pritchard, maybe. I can't remember. They were told what they could do, what they couldn't do. Now, when they saw that door was open, when they were making their way down there, they were told, number one, don't go in the building. And number two, do not interact with any of the talent. That's what they were told.
Okay.
But they always listened so well to what they were told, right? But yeah, Bischoff went on record and said, I would have told them to come on in, and then made a challenge to McMahon, and then that didn't happen. But eventually, I mean, with the help of DX, the ratings started taking over. WWF never looked back. Guys in the locker room wanted to be the best match of the night. But when you look at what DX was doing, once Shawn was gone, it wasn't about having the best match on the night or of the night. It was trying to bring the best out of everyone else. Even Triple H got that mindset when you look back at the battles he had with The Rock for the Intercontinental Championship, or whenever the whole Nation of Domination thing was going on and they all came out dressed like the Nation of Domination.
Oh my God.
And X-Pac had all this padding in him. Triple H was The Rock. He said, how do you get your pecs to go all the way around your back? You know, like it wasn't about, it was, and I don't want to say anything bad, but was Shawn Michaels the poison in the WWF?
Oh man. I don't want to say it was Shawn. I mean, he contributed to it.
Oh my God, yes.
Was he the most poison in the WWF at the time? I think he may have planted some seeds before he left, before he did his hiatus. And, you know, those that ended up kind of adopting a little bit of that persona, it was like, well, Shawn got away with it.
Yeah.
Why can't we? You know? That whole nation thing, I
used to love the Nation of Domination. I loved Farouk, like that militant, you know, like,
oh, dude, Ron Simmons.
I loved it. I loved Ron Simmons in the Nation of Domination. The Nation of Domination was awesome until The Rock started really becoming The Rock.
Yep.
And he got that Intercontinental title, and you could obviously tell, like, all right, well, he's either going to be running the nation or he's going to get kicked out.
Yeah.
But the actual group of the Nation of Domination with Ron Simmons leading them, oh man, that was just gold. That was money.
Oh my God, the spoof of Owen Hart,
Jason Sensation
in the Nation of Domination. I am not a nugget. God damn it.
DX found him. I think they said they overheard him like out in the crowd just doing impressions, or something. And it's oh my God, he was awesome. I'm a black heart, damn it, a rebel. Woo! I know I look like an aardvark. Jason, but again, he fit right into DX. I mean, that was great stuff. That was friggin' great stuff. It was, DX was, when Shawn was running it, DX was good. When Triple H came out, it was about the group. It wasn't about Shawn Michaels. DX, when it was just Shawn, Triple H, and Hunter, it's like it was still just all about Shawn Michaels. Because, like I said, it took Hunter a while to kind of come into his own. He was just kind of following around Hunter, or following. Hunter was following around Sean, but then by the time he's running it, he was ready. He was ready and made it about the group. It wasn't all about Triple H. The way that's what I think. I think even though they were called Degeneration X and all that stuff, I think it was still all about Shawn Michaels
at that time. Yeah, I gotta agree.
So this was pretty much the end of the episode for part 4 of the Monday Night Wars. What's your takeaway so far? So at this point, Shawn is gone. WWF is coming back. This is, like I said, this is only episode 4. There's like 20 episodes in the Monday Night Wars. Looking back on it, it didn't seem like it was that long. It's like looking back on it now, it's like you blink and the Monday Night Wars were over. Up to this point, we'll say it's 1997, around there. Is that fair to say?
97, 98. Yeah.
What did you think of the Monday Night Wars at this point? Now, I don't believe there's any Goldberg or anything like that at this point. It's still in WCW. It's all New World Order. It's still all New World Order. DX is in the Triple H era now.
Yep.
At this point, is it still flip the channels back and forth to see what's going on?
Wow. I'm going to say we're talking about coming on the end of the hype that was the NWO. Around that, it's not the end of the NWO, but it's a start. It's the start of the end of the NWO.
Yeah.
Because that's when you start coming out with the Latino World Order, and you've got the red and black, and you've got the black and white, and then, I mean, Jesus, where was the blue order? The blue World Order?
They were in ECW.
ECW. It was around that same time. You're looking at the downfall of the NWO, and I think you're looking at, like, DX is maintaining. Like, they're still going strong with what they've got, but like I said before, you've got Austin stepping up, and his, he's starting to lead the charge. This is before Goldberg.
Yes.
Keep in mind. So you're looking at WWE is starting to overtake WCW in the ratings. McMahon realizes what kind of a cash cow that he's got with DX, Austin. I mean, Undertaker is still going strong at that time. The streak was still intact.
But as far as Monday Night Nitro and Monday Night Raw, are you still flipping back and forth, or are you staying more on WWF?
At that time, I was staying more on WWF.
Yeah, at this point, it was starting to get there for me too. It was just starting. I was still flipping back and forth.
Yeah.
I just didn't flip back and forth as much as I was. And not to say that WCW wasn't good anymore. It's just that I thought WWE's product was getting a little bit better and edgier. And yeah, it was just better overall, especially for our age group. And that will do it, guys. Another episode is in the books. Like I said in the intro, it's been a little while, but we're back. Our next show is going to be a WrestleMania review for the matches that we have so far for WrestleMania. It is next weekend, so let's do a show and let's talk about it. Until then, my name is Doug, and I am out.